Fryd.
Hi.
Welcome to our symposium. So great to have you with us today. And I would like to give some introduction and some words to your biographical background. You're coming in from Copenhagen, from Fata Morgana, the Danish School of Art Photography, which you are currently heading as new acting principal. You know Fata Morgana quite very well from the other perspective because you've already studied there. In 2006, you graduated from Fata Morgana, then you went to New York to the ICP International Center of Photography, where you graduated from in 2009. Since then, you divide your time between New York and your home country, Denmark. You work in the two roles. We also have you here today as a panelist in this symposium. And now you will present us your as well engaged work, being also a photo artist. Fryd, we are looking forward.
My name is Fryd, and I'm a Danish photographer. I'm going to take you through a little bit of my work while I also sort of do a run through of how I got to where I'm at. The first part of the work that I'm showing today is from the series Nephews, which is a big photo book that I had published in late 2016 with a follow-up exhibition in 2017. Both because that work sort of showcases my journey in photography, because I started it when I was a student at FFF Morgana, and so it sort of journeys that, but also my personal history and how I've evolved throughout the years. As mentioned, I started my photographic education at FFF Morgana. Prior to that, I had gone to a few different schools. So I also went to the media school in Lyngby, outside of Copenhagen, and what is referred to as the juggler school, FFF, which also was like a creative sort of start for me. At these places, I sort of started my journey into this like creative community and sort of having a life that's dedicated to an artistic practice. This work specifically is about my two nephews. When I was 19, my sister passed away 4 hours after giving birth to the youngest of these two boys. Obviously, that had a tremendous impact on myself and my family as a whole. It was also the time where I had first started really getting into photography. And a few years after it had happened, I had started FFF Morgana here at the school, and I'll get into this way more in the second part. You are highly encouraged to sort of use yourself as a toolbox, and you're highly encouraged to sort of dive in and figure out why you're feeling like you're feeling and how you can use it in your work. So having just lost my sister a few years prior, it was like pretty clear to me that I would have to do something about that story while at FFF Morgana. The photograph that's on the screen right now is called Beginnings, and that is the two boys, and it's the first photo I did for the series. My mom helped me take this photo in my dad's old offices, so it's really like a whole family kind of thing. I did this for my fall exhibition at FFF Morgana, so you can say it's sort of a full circle thing today for me. The wig head that's what it is. The styrofoam head that the youngest Andreas is holding was my mom's wig head because she was going through chemotherapy at the time. And she had brought that for Andreas because he sort of used that as a teddy bear, and had brought it in to sort of comfort him because it was going to be an awkward situation. And as soon as he lifted that styrofoam head up, I just knew that that was the time to do the photograph. I'm going to depth on this story because it sort of is how I still work to this day. I'll plan my photos out ahead, and then I'll wait for that moment, which some would, say is like a decisive moment in photography, but which it is. But I think for me, it's I sort of always compare it to if you had written a whole song, but it's not until the moment that you play it and maybe something goes slightly wrong that it becomes sort of perfect. This series has been with me for so long. It was with me in Denmark. I took it to New York. I took it back to Denmark. It has been sort of a back and forth situation, which I am happy that it was. It's not documentary. It's stage scenarios between me and these two boys. And it speaks as much about them as it does me. At the same time, I was a student at Fata Morgana. I was also a part of a punk house here in Copenhagen called Ungdomshuset, the youth house. And on top of that, my mom had cancer. So while being at this really intense program at a Danish photo school, I was sort of also being cooped up in this punk house and dealing with a close family member not doing well. So this whole time around being a student there was really intense and kind of insane. After I graduated from Fata Morgana, the youth house was facing eviction. Long story, but the short of the matter is that while I was in there living in the house, I did a book with the Swedish photographer who's also based here in Denmark, Kajsa Guldberg. It was called The Family Album. It was a book with portraits of all the young activists living in the house. And I'm mentioning this because that book, I published my first book and at a pretty young age, and I think it gave me this pretty naive idea about like how to sort of get things done in photography that sort of stuck with me for a long time. I was 23 when the book came out, and it was published by a real publisher, and I got my first paycheck. It made me be able to go to New York, which is what happened after the house got evicted and my mom passed from cancer. I spent the money from the book to start my education at ICP. These images with the boys are playful and staged and real and all these different things. And I could talk about this project on its own for hours. So another part of my practice is that I work in different printing materials. And lately, this is from my most recent exhibition. This is from a project called Solstice, which is a project I did with a composer called Lars Greve on the west coast of Denmark, where I'm from. Solstice was a project that happened over 3 years, and this was the final installation. The big prints you see on the wall are from a book with the same title, and all the flooring that I did, I made this rug, symbolizes different like soil types from that part of the country. So the green is grass, the red and the stripes are the sun for solstice. The orange are the flowers that you see in the fields. The black is the soil, and then there's the sand. And it's sort of, and then the pink one is also a type of flower that's on the west coast of Denmark. So all of these colors symbolizes and draws from photographs that are in the actual publication. On the walls, there are 2 videos with different montage video clips from the area. The room was filled with sound by the composer. So I've really been like diving into this whole idea of creating a sort of multifaceted installation feeling with photographers as a base. This whole sort of journey into like printing on alternative fabrics and stuff started with newsprint back in New York because I didn't have any money. And I found out you can go to like Pratt art supply store and buy like a pad for $10 and print 1,000 prints. And I thought that was neat. And it catapulted me into sort of wanting to print on everything. This is a beach fabric towel from an exhibition in Cologne last year. This was a big print I did for another little show I had here in Copenhagen where I printed on both sides, and I only hang it in 3 corners because I wanted the feeling of you turning a page in a book. Another beach towel installation in a barn, a part of a cultural festival in Roskilde. This is a semi-transparent foil on a bathroom wall in Copenhagen as a part of an exhibition at a place called The Toilet. This is a collaboration with the Danish artist and photographer Absalon Kirkeby, all printed on sticker material, and it's straight to the wall. I think when you've been doing photography for a long time, you sort of tend to get stuck in your own ways. And this is where I really feel like I can unfold ideas and challenge my own sort of recipe. And then we are here. I'm gonna hold this up. The book, if you guys look at my little thumbnail. This is a lot of my work exists in book form. This one is called Never Run Faster Than Your Guardian Angel Can Fly, and was published last fall by Atlas Books, which is a Danish publisher. This book was done all throughout quarantine this spring. I came to Copenhagen in December. Sorry, I had an exhibition, and I came here because I had to renew my artist visa, which you renew every 3 years. When I got here, I thought, oh, I'll go home, spend Christmas, have a show, and then I'll go back to New York in February when everything is taken care of. All these new rules had happened with the Trump administration, and the visa process took way longer than it usually does. And I ended up being stuck when COVID hit, and then the embassy closed. So that's sort of how I ended up being in Copenhagen, or being in Denmark full time. While I was I was staying with my dad and my oldest nephew at my dad's house, and that's where all this work developed. I invited a senior researcher, Medikia Krabbe-Meyer, from the Royal Library to write. So all the captions are by Mette, and I really love them. This work is for sure so much in her sort of voice as well because of that. The way we did the text was that I sent her the work and she started writing, and then it was like a conversation back and forth between the text and the images. All the chapters are from motivational, sort of inspirational quotes that I collected through a Facebook post 2 years ago. And they sort of become like this humorous way of describing how I was actually feeling being stuck with my dad and my nephew in my teenage bedroom for 3 months. It was a real challenge, and I definitely reached my limit. But sort of doing all these photographs and also helping my dad work on his web shop for his fishing net company, and having Medikia sending me all these beautiful sentiments really was like a lifesaver for me. I'm very, very proud of this book. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. That one really resonated with me. I like when things become both like serious and playful at the same time. I really think that that's where things are really interesting, where you can feel that there are playfulness and lightheartedness, but there's also someone behind whatever they're presenting that are really, really serious about what they're pointing at. Because why else should people spend time on it if you don't want to spend time with it? And I think that's definitely a driver I've had since I started photography, and what I take with me into all of a sudden being an acting principal of a photo school, that I feel like I want the students to take their work as serious as I take their work serious, and vice versa. So that is definitely one of the founding thoughts in my practice. I promise to show a little bit of the other side of my practice, which is my commercial work. Being in New York for 12 years, I feel like I was introduced to something I don't see here in the North, where it's perfectly acceptable that you as an artist also work commercially. Here in Denmark, I feel like a lot of the time I have to defend the fact that I also do work for other people, even though I consider myself an artist. And that will forever be some sort of weird struggle for me personally. This work that you're seeing on the screen right here is for a singer called Nurse, where I've done creative direction and also her music video. Here are some stills from that music video. And I work with a lot of musicians commercially, and sort of how my professional life and my art practice is all about like autographical, and it all is sort of tied together with my personal life. It tends to happen with my commercial work as well. These two ladies that I'm going through right now are like two of my closest friends. With Mo, I've been doing, she's a pretty well-known Danish pop star. I've been doing her creative for around 5 years. And it's like everything from sparring on all visuals to taking the photographs and making the merch design and so forth. So, but I feel like all of this brings a lot of energy to my own work, which is really nice. It's playful and it's fun, and sometimes it's nice to just create images for the sake of making beautiful images. And I feel like in working with a person like her, I get to do that, which is nice. This is sort of a brief run through about my work and who I am, and I'm excited to talk to you guys again.